So guys, since this is the season of landing, a lot of new permanent residents will be landing in Canada, and as soon as the draws of express entry resume in the coming month, we will see a lot of people landing from outside Canada as new permanent residents. So this brings us to the very important question as to what exactly is required when you're landing in Canada as a fresh immigrant, as a landed immigrant for the very first time. What kind of documents are required? What is the best time to land? What kind of copies or what kind of documents should I be carrying? We will be answering all of these questions in this video today. So please be tuned till the end. My name is Sahil. Alright guys, so welcome back once again. My name is Sahil and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and I practice in Ontario. My office is here. If you have to get in touch with me, my number is on the screen and the details are there in the description box. More than happy to connect with you. Before we proceed any further, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon because we talk a lot about Canadian immigration. And if you are an aspirant of coming to Canada, then this is a channel that you must be subscribed to all the time. So guys, what we're discussing today is the very important topic of landing in Canada as a permanent resident. What it takes when you're landing for the first time, what kind of documents are required, what is the right time to land, what kind of things you should pack. So we'll be looking at all the aspects. We'll also be looking at the part when it says that there is a short interview at the border. Well, if it is an interview or not, we will be discussing today in this video. So please make sure that you watch this video till the very end because there are important pieces of information that have been split towards the entire part of this video, right? So every now and then you'll get some very important tips. So guys, like you already know that in Canada, a landed immigrant is exactly what an immigrant status means. So whenever you're outside Canada, if you receive a confirmation of PR, which is a COPR that people would normally know, if you get a COPR, you are still not a landed immigrant because you haven't really touched the Canadian soil yet. So do not consider yourself as a PR till the time you land in Canada for the first time. Once you land in Canada, the officer will give you a signed COPR, the dated COPR, the same copy that you have. The officer will give you one copy, and then you will be known as a landed immigrant. Okay. Now, first let's look at what exactly is the landing procedure. We will look at how to book a ticket, and then we'll go up till the very end of you being welcomed as a Canadian permanent resident, right? All right, guys. So first things first, there are a lot of questions that people normally ask that Sahil, okay, which month is the best month to land, and questions like which city to land in, what kind of flights should I book, right? So I first thought maybe let's look at what is the best time to land in Canada. Now guys, I personally think that if you look at COVID-19, the recent COVID-19 times, the best time to land is ASAP, right? As soon as possible, you should try and land in Canada because you never know when a new pandemic might come out and whenever there might be new travel restrictions or anything that might come up. So typically the best advice at the moment is to land ASAP. But in practical, personally, I think every month is usually good, but the months of December and January are usually slow months because they are the months of festival in Canada. Usually after the 15th of December up until the very end of January, things are normally slow. Now, if you're coming towards Canada with the prospect of finding a job or maybe availing services, say Service Canada or anything, then you could face a couple of delays if you're coming in the second half of December or maybe the first half of January. If you can try and avoid that. Just on the other side, I would say the months of February, March and April specifically are months with heavy snow. The first time I landed in Canada, I landed in the month of February, and I found it pretty well. I mean, we were well prepared for the snow and I did have some help here, as in I had some friends here. But still, it is not an issue. A lot of people land in the month of February, March and April as well. It's not bad. It's definitely not slow. A lot of businesses do start hiring because the starting of the year they have good budgets allocated for the rest of the financial year. They're just preparing. So I think any month is good to land in Canada. You should just take a note of whether it's going to be snow, it's going to be very cold or not. But let's agree to the fact that it is Canada and it is going to be cold, right? So put snow to the last of your worries, because that is a part and parcel of your life going forward, right? If you talk about which city to land in, I think that totally depends upon what PNP you got, or what kind of a program you have, or which province do you have your relatives or friends in. If you're talking about that your landing city in the COPR, if it says Toronto, you can definitely go to any other city except Quebec, if you are not landing in Canada based on Quebec immigration. So Quebec is the only province where you need to be a little careful if you're landing for the first time as a permanent resident. You should have an onwards journey booked already, or you should have, say for example, you got a flight to Montreal. It's not a problem at all. You can very well land in Montreal. It's just that you need to give the officer an answer that you're just landing there and you'll be proceeding to any other city, right? So that's the only difference. Otherwise, a friend recently landed in Montreal, and then he had Nova Scotia PNP. So he had no trouble at all. He landed in Montreal and then he went ahead to Nova Scotia. I recently had a student also land in Montreal, and then she came to Toronto. So no problem at all. You should just have your onward journey ready, and you should have all those plans ready to show it to the officer in case if the officer wants to look at, right? So technically, if it could be anything mentioned on your COPR as the destination city, but you can still land in any city in Canada, right? So as long as they have an international airport and they have a flight coming in from your country, you should be okay. When it comes to booking flights, I personally think that direct flights to Canada are the best ones. I know it can get a bit expensive, but guys, whenever it's a connecting flight, it can get a bit more stressful with the number of hops in between. Sometimes people do lose their luggage as well, and the first time immigrants, you don't want any added stress in life. So I personally think try and book a direct flight. You can use aggregators like Google Flights or maybe Skyscanner. I personally think Skyscanner and Google Flights both are good because they give you a graph of the entire month. So you can pick up specific dates where you can find cheapest flights, right? So it's better than all the local, booking aggregators that you have. Definitely go ahead and check out Skyscanner and Google Flights. I think they're the best. If you look at the landing part of it, you can, the kind of documents that you would need. I have prepared a list of it. But even before you think of landing, the documents you should start prepping up your journey, right? So prepping would mean that you should first take care of your medical requirements in your current country. For example, getting your tests, going for dentals, going for optometrists, going for your eyeglasses, have some separate pairs or maybe extra pairs of eyeglasses, get your teeth cleaned, and get yourself checked and everything. Get your body tested, get some regular tests before you get onto your journey, because that really will tell you that how good or how healthy you are, right? Those are for your own personal records. Do get yourself immunized. Your children especially get them vaccinated. For kids in India, they have specific vaccines until the age of 5, and then up until 12 also. So make sure that your kids are up with the vaccination requirements and they have taken all the doses and the boosters. Apart from this, you can go to your doctors and get some prescriptions also. If you are trying to travel with any medical situations, if for example diabetes or maybe heart or anything, then do carry your medicines along. Do carry some medicines for emergency use. For every medicine that you carry, you should have prescriptions with yourself, and do get a doctor's note as well, right? So all of this is the preparation. So in the start, I would suggest make a maybe 1 month in advance, make a checklist and do follow that checklist properly. Do have those bankings, giving power of attorney to anybody to access your banking. If there is any account or credit card that needs to be shut down, or maybe any address that needs to be changed, make sure that all of that is done. With regards to Canada, do a little bit of pre-prep. For example, if you can get an appointment at Scotiabank or any other bank, right, so that once you land in Canada, you have that sorted. Do book your Airbnbs in advance, or maybe have your friends wherever you are staying. All of that preparation has to start well in advance. If you try to push it off to the last day, then you'll start struggling towards the, the better half of it. So always have that, settled. When I landed in 2019 early, I had all of that sorted, and I had a checklist that I could follow, and I had all the say photocopies, Xerox copies kept back at my home, and then I had some to carry with myself as well. So all of that was sorted, right? So do organize everything and follow that checklist. Now, guys, coming to Canada, now let's assume that you've done everything back home. You've now booked your flights also, and you have now flown towards Canada, and you've just reached, or your flight has just landed. Now the actual landing will start, and we will see what are the steps and what are the checkpoints that are going to come next. Okay. Now the first checkpoint that is going to come for you at the airport will be right off you get off the airport or the airplane. So once you get off at the airplane, there's a bridge that connects, and on that bridge you will usually find a CBSA officer, which is the CBSA officer is usually standing there to give you a preliminary check. The officer can look at your passport, your boarding pass, your visa, and maybe your arrive can if you're coming to Canada, right? International, of course. So have all of those things ready. The officer may ask you for your reason of arrival, and then the officer can ask you that if you have all of those documents, can probably see those documents as well. It's a very light check, not every time it happens, but it usually does happen, and you will see an officer as soon as you land from the airport. You will see an officer right over, the officer can ask you to wait, probably proceed in a specific direction. So all of that is done normally, and that's very normal. Once the preliminary check is done, the officer will proceed you towards the airport building, and then usually all the international airports that you see in Canada might have a kiosk. So kiosk is a declaration counter sort of a situation where you will scan your passport, and then the kiosk will ask you certain questions. Say, for example, how much money are you carrying? Do you have any criminal activity or anything? You can just click on the specific answers, and then it'll print a receipt for you, right? So all of that is done, and you can then proceed towards the main immigration counters. If the kiosk is not there, you do get some papers to fill in the flight as well. So some immigration forms, you can fill them while you're in the flight only, so that once you reach the immigration counters, you're ready with those forms, or the print that happens at the kiosk. You should at least have that, and then you should proceed towards the immigration counters or the immigration officers. At the border control or the immigration control, the first place where you're stopped, you'll see an officer who's sitting right in the front, and everybody proceeds in turn, right? So you have to stand behind the counters, or maybe before the counters in line. There's a huge queue, and whenever the officer calls you, you just step up with your entire family, and then all 3, 4, or maybe 2 or just one person will step up to the border, hand over your passport and your boarding pass to the officer. Keep your COPR and keep your visa ready if it's separated. Otherwise, you should hand over your visa as well. And there the officer will ask you specific questions. For example, what kind of documents are you carrying? Or maybe, what kind of money are you carrying? What is your purpose of stay? Or what is your purpose of visit? At that moment, you have to declare to the officer, the first, immigration control, the border control office or the counter. You have to declare that you're a new immigrant. Say, I'm a new immigrant and I'm landing in Canada for the first time. As soon as you say that, the officer will check the documents, look at your visa, look at your COPR, and the officer will look at your boarding pass. And then the officer will ask you to move to a separate queue. Okay, so just behind the officer, you'll see there's a separate queue that's going on. It's for new immigrants. That's the CBSA office or the immigration, the IRCC office. So you'll see everybody else who's coming to Canada temporarily will just exit from the other side, but you'll be asked to go to the other line. Okay, and as soon as you go to the other line, there'll be a huge queue again, and then you'll be asked to wait in line. There'll be a couple of other officers who will ask you, probably give you a token number, or will ask you to get into a queue, and they will ask you that if you're a new immigrant landing for the first time, maybe you're a student, or maybe you're a temporary foreign worker, whatever is the situation, to issue the permit, they will ask you to get into a queue. Now, you will then meet the immigration officer where your landing interview will happen. Okay, now this is the main moment of truth. This is the main thing where your landing interview is happening, and this is the place where your documents will be processed and everything, your PR will be processed on the spot. Now, a couple of documents that you must have, I personally think I prepared a list. So, a couple of documents that you must always have, and then we'll go towards the landing interview. Okay. So, you must always have your visas and ETA. You have to make sure that you do have that. Your passport is extremely important. Your COPR, which is your confirmation of PR, it's a long legal size document that you get. You have to have that. Carry your photos, your tickets, and then you must have your ArriveCAN ready. These are the basic minimum requirements that you must have always. Apart from this, you have to carry the customs declaration form which you get in the airport or maybe at the kiosk. Then you need to have a goods accompanying and a goods to follow list, the BSF 186 and BSF 186A. The goods accompanying, you can prepare an Excel sheet, serial number, goods and value in CAD or value in your current country, your native currency. Have that thing ready. So you should have one Excel of what you are carrying today, and you should have one Excel or maybe one printout as to what goods will be following you afterwards. Now, the goods to follow is your one-stop shop or one chance in a lifetime to declare anything without paying taxes. Because you are landing or moving to Canada for the first time, this is your best chance or best opportunity to declare as much as you want without taxation. For example, you will be carrying a car later, lot of gold, furniture, maybe expensive saris, expensive clothes, expensive jewelry, anything. Make sure that you get everything valuated, especially the gold and the jewelry. There are government approved jewelry evaluators in your country. Get hold of them, get those things evaluated with photographs, and then carry those lists. Okay, goods to follow must have everything in it, and you should have that list ready with you. Okay, that's very important. Apart from this, you should have your COPR, like I told you earlier. Make sure that you do not sign the COPR in advance. You should not sign that. You have to sign the COPR in front of the officer when the officer tells you. Have those documents ready with you in the envelope that it comes. Apart from all of this, your basic certificates like your marriage certificate, your education documents like your mark sheets, your diplomas, degrees, all of that. You should have your immunization records, your vaccination records, especially for the kids, have their doctor records also. You can have those prescriptions if you're carrying any medicines, have any work experience related documents, say for example your offer letters or maybe your experience letters, have them handy. Have your birth certificates, your school records of the children. Then you can have your proof of funds also handy. Do carry latest bank statements and bank balance certificates. Also have your net banking active on the phone, just in case if the officer wants to have a live look, the officer can ask you to produce your net banking. Mostly they'll not ask, but they will definitely ask you that do you have the money. If you tell them that yes you do, they should be okay. If you are, if you drive, you should carry your driving license extract, and an international driving license is obviously helpful. Along with this, you can also carry your insurance company declaration that you've never probably claimed an insurance in your country for the good driving record. That helps you when you are applying for your driving license. You can have your PCC or a medical acknowledgement, handy with you, and then everything probably you used when you were applying for your PR, have that handy. Now, important thing to note here is people generally want to carry digital copies. My suggestion to you is, apart from the digital copies, do carry originals if you can. Otherwise, at least Xerox and hard copies in front of you. Sometimes so happens that people lose the batteries of their phone. The phone dies out. Maybe the phones are not accessible. You don't get probably internet at the airport, and technology or electronics can always falter on you, right? So better to have everything handy in hard copy. You can probably create a bag and have those documents ready, at your disposal once you are there at the airport. And if the officer asks you anything, needs a proof, you can then produce it. It's always better to carry a hard copy. I did, and I always suggest to all my clients, I do carry hard copies instead of carrying everything in digital. Guys, generally all of these documents are important. Like I said, have all of them handy. Apart from this, the landing interview is extremely important for you to answer. At the landing interview, the officer will ask you the first question, that has there been a change in your personal situation or your family circumstances or your family situation. For example, has there been a new child that is born in your family, or maybe you've gotten married or divorced or anything. If all of that has happened, you should have informed IRCC before landing in Canada, right? So the ideal answer here will be that no, there has been no change. The next question the officer can ask you, that has there been a criminal charge on you, or have you been involved in any criminal activity. The officer will ask you that, is there a medical situation that I should be aware of, or is there a medical change in your situation. And then the officer will also ask you for an address in Canada, because that is where they will send you a PR card. So you should have an address which should not be for a post office box, but a physical address in Canada, which the officer will require at the border on the same spot for sending the PR card. Then once everything is done, once they ask you all the questions about medical, criminality, proof of funds or anything, after all of that is done, they're usually done with everything. They will sign the COPR and put a date on it. They should also give you a copy, and you should then take that copy, and whenever the officer asks you to sign, you sign it and keep one copy, and the officer will keep one copy, right? That is where the officer will say welcome to Canada as a PR. Guys, that is when you are a permanent resident and your landing is done. Congratulations, you become you're a permanent resident in Canada and your landing is complete. Then you exit the airport, or rather exit the immigration counters. You proceed towards the baggage claims, pick up your baggage. After the baggage, almost close to the exit is the customs counter. That is where you will declare all the goods to follow and goods to accompany. All the list, you just proceed towards the custom. Even if nobody tells you, you tell the customs officer that you have goods to follow. You're a new immigrant and you want to declare. You then go towards another counter. The officer will take the goods to follow and goods accompanying. They will stamp everything and give you a copy back. Do not forget the copy, because you will require that in future if you are bringing anything from your home country, right? So have that. Once you get that stamped copy, you're done with your landing, and then it is complete. After that, you exit the airport and you proceed towards your life in Canada as a permanent resident. Guys, this is an exhaustive list, an exhaustive procedure to land. Do your own research as well, because beyond this can be certain situations at a particular airport or in your personal landing, or maybe the country that you start your journey from. Do have all of that ready. If you're carrying more than $10,000 in cash with you, you have to declare. As a permanent resident for the first time, you can carry more, but do not forget to declare that, right? Guys, I think I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to say. Apart from this is only the list that, or maybe what you should pack, that totally goes by person to person. But otherwise, I think your landing does not cover anything more than this. If you have anything specific to discuss with me, please feel free to schedule an appointment with me. I would be more than happy to answer the questions that you have. If you have a situation to discuss, my number is there on the screen and the details are there in the description box. More than happy to connect with you. Once again, I wish you all the best, and I really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.